My name is David Hepner, and this is the Huntlore podcast, where we will spark our imaginations and pay tribute to the time-honored tradition of hunting by sharing our stories of the hunt. Huntlore is brought to you by Black Bear Wear, bear hunting apparel for bear hunters and everyone else. Get it, wear it, share it.
Now it's working.
Now it's working. The call dropped.
There we go.
Okay, go in a bomb-proof shelter.
Holy hell.
Yeah. Noah's just fiddling with a few levels here. Oh, yeah, it's all good. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Noah.
Yeah, Eric says thanks.
And then
Yeah. Just don't touch anything. We won't touch anything, and it will work, I think. That's the thing with this stuff, man. I'm like not very good with technology.
And some of the new stuff they got is just wild. My kid, I was trying to do something on my phone a couple of days ago, and I didn't know how to do it. So my kid, he sent me basically it was like a screen record of him recording what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then just sent me like the record. And it was like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's so much stuff my phone can do that I have no clue about. It is what it is. Oh, well.
Yeah, whatever. We're getting it going now. So, welcome here, man.
Perfect.
So I guess.
What's new, dude?
Not much. Just trying to get the podcast going.
I hear you.
And just trying to get people who are interested. There's enough people interested, and once it's time to record, people are a little bit more gun shy.
Right.
But it's all good. We got you here finally.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Dude, bear camp was a lot busier than I thought it was going to be.
Oh.
I figured, between, 8 o'clock in the morning and, the time you guys leave, we'd have plenty of downtime to get some stuff done. But, we knocked 2 bears down on the, first night. And after that, it was just full, all hands on deck the rest of the week. So
exactly. It is, it is a lot of, skinning bears, tracking bears, getting guys out and all that. And then just trying to find a spot to actually do it without guys feeling kind of like awkward or left out of the bowl, right?
It seemed like a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't know you guys took those stands down every year.
Yeah. We're supposed to take them down every year. That's a dumb rule.
That's a lot of work.
That's a dumb rule because no one else uses those stands at all, ever.
Right. Yeah.
So, except
it
us.
seems like a ton of work. I saw Ryan taking them down. I was like, oh my God, this guy said they had 33 stands out.
Yeah.
That's a ton of work.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It gets to be a lot. Yeah. Thank God that I didn't have to do it. I was able to roll out a camp right on Friday there.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah. Get Parker to do that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. He lives out there, so he can do that stuff.
Oh, right on. Yeah. Even better.
Yeah, I guess just for everyone who's listening here, this is the Huntlore podcast, and my guest here today is Eric Bethune, correct?
Correct.
That's how you pronounce your last name. I was always saying Bethune, but then
Bethune,
I heard it.
Bethune.
Yeah,
get all kinds of weird stuff. But
yeah.
Bethune is as good as it gets.
So I guess we should kind of go back kind of when we met, how this all started. Do you remember?
Man, God, I want to say it was like 2017. I was working at Raytheon. I was, just like brand new, fresh getting into hunting. I was, watching some bear videos. I'd come off a really bad Ontario bear situation with a guy who just basically was like a retiree who was just, trying to find something to do. So he had, he had some stuff set up. It was just a bad camp, and I was trying to find some different stuff to get into. And I ran across, I believe it was your uncertainty video.
Yeah.
I think it was the uncertainty video, and it's just there were bears everywhere. I think last time I was at this camp, I saw maybe 2 bears, so there's no action, and you're just sitting in the middle of 7 of them. Like, dude, where are you guys hunting? They're like, I'm a guide for stick cleaners, and I immediately go to the website, check it out. And I think I had Ryan deposit within 2 weeks. I mean, it moved pretty quick.
Yeah.
But after that, I came up to camp, got a very respectable Pope and Young bear. I believe it was my 4th night, like Wednesday night.
Yeah, just over.
Super good hide, super good hide. And, got a rug done. I think he scored 18.5, not the biggest bear in the woods, but for me, and, at that time, it was completely happy with it. Got back, and I think I booked that later that year, either early 19 for 2020. And we all know what happened in 2020. So it wound up getting put off till this year.
Yeah.
Got back in camp, first night, aired a booner. That was just everything I wanted him to be. And, that was just, I'm actually taking him up to my taxidermist on Sunday.
Yeah, that was a beast of a bear.
Dude, spectacular bear. Pictures don't do him any justice. You got to come out, man, because you've got the photo skills to get that angle just right.
You know what?
Parker just wanted to get him the hell out of the woods.
Yeah.
The way you dressed your bear up for your shot.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
perfect. And just the pictures of my bear, looking at him laying there versus looking at the pictures, it's like, it's not even the same bear. Like, it does him no justice.
Yeah.
But we got him done, and he's in the freezer, so
yeah,
all is well.
Yeah, exactly. And you got that one with the stick bow, eh?
Yep, got him out of, I don't even think the bait I went to this time had a name. I think it was one of the newer ones.
Oh, what is that name? It does have a name, but I forget, because that is in the new area that Ryan has this year. That was the newer area. Yeah.
Second bear that come in, got him at, I guess it was 10, 12 yards.
Yeah.
So short track job, Iron Wheel got him worked up.
Yeah. I thought the
worked.
pictures at night actually turned out pretty decent. The night pics
perfect.
there. Yeah. It turned out okay, but yeah, it's very doable to take some good pictures. I've done it on my own, you've seen that. So it is possible.
Yeah, and I'm bad with it. I'm not a picture guy. It's just, I rely on everybody else to kind of hook me up.
Well,
overall, killer time. We had a blast.
Yeah. But you know what, Eric, to be fair, like when you're 6, what are you, 6'4", 6'5"?
6'1.5".
6'1.5". Okay, I guess I'm
6'1.5".
I'm exceptionally small.
I think I was 270 in camp, 260,
yeah.
270-ish.
Okay, that's the thing. It's hard to take pictures with you, okay?
Yeah, I kind of put a little bit up against the bear too, so he's got to, he'd have to look really spectacular to kind of size me down.
Yeah, so
but you have to know that you if you're just looking at the picture, unless you've seen me, in person next to the bear, you can't really make the comparison. But
it can be
back
tough.
pictures. I don't know what it is about bears on their back, but to me, it's their best look. I mean, to me, it sizes them up perfect.
Really?
Because it seems like when they lay on their stomach, their hips go down, and they look like they're all shoulders and no hips.
Yeah, it's
just funny. But the polar bear on his stomach, like the one I took where I'm kind of picking his head up, he looks like a freight train. And, when I got my black bear on the table and, we're checking him out on his back, he just looks enormous. But the second we roll him over, it's like half the bear disappears.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. You know what? I actually noticed that. I was watching a YouTube video there yesterday of a brown bear hunt, and they shot it in the creek. And so then they had to float it down to a gravel bar to get some better pics and work on it, and all that stuff. And as soon as it went on its back and was floating in the water, it was like, wow, that's a tank. Like a huge belly.
The back pose, man. That's the one to do with the paw up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to try. I remember I did that once on my own back in 2015 there, and it was okay. I just couldn't get, on your own
would be a
yeah,
chore.
On your own, it's tough getting the tripod and then trying to line it all up.
100%. Or just getting the bear into position. I mean, me, Al, and Parker were just taxed.
Oh, well,
from getting our bear, out from where he was and into the trailer. Yeah. And then as Parker gets right to the trail, we're about to get off onto the road. The trailer falls over. We got to put him back in there. We were beat. We were beat.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I guess just to give some background of who you are and how you got into hunting and all these things, and we can get into just, you've been going crazy with the hunting and a lot of big hunts.
I've been turning it up lately. So, as a kid, my dad was really into it. We grew up in very rural North Carolina. So, every weekend my dad's, we were, chasing bullfrogs. We're in the creek. We're catching catfish. We're tracking deer. We're shooting doves. So, I kind of grew up doing it, and it was always a good time. Dad was one of the guys, like, if you shoot it, you got to eat it type thing. So, we grew up eating catfish and eels and doves and deer and, squirrels and rabbits. So that kind of stuff's always just been kind of a part of it. And, I guess I kind of got out of it, girls in high school and that kind of stuff. So, you kind of put that little stuff down. And, once I got a little older and a little more settled, I kind of started gravitating back to it. And, once I really got back into it, I got back into it full speed. I went on a couple hunts for bear, went on an antelope hunt. And after that, it's just been, for lack of a better word, like a complete addiction.
Well, I can tell it.
Seems like I just love it. Like, I got Thule coming up next month, and it's like an on-call situation. season opens on the 1st, and he was saying that typically the elk move down to the ranch on the 25th. So it's like the anticipation between now and then, and not knowing I'm going to get a call, which most hunts aren't like that. You get dates years in advance.
Yeah.
Just the anticipation for this, like, it's so much different, and it's super exciting, man. And luckily, I got a wife that just, she lets me do kind of what I want to do. But it's just fun, man. I just love doing it. I love meeting the people, and having the experiences and the conversations in different areas, and just seeing how different folks live. And just like coming to Canada, like, it's just sitting in the woods itself is a complete out of body experience. The wood noise is different. The way the wind moves through the trees is different. The animal sounds, like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just so wholesome.
Yeah.
I guess, to just see these places and have these experiences. I just really enjoy it. So I can't get enough of it. So doing as much of it as I can while I can do it.
Well, exactly. And that's just the thing, when guys say, hey, I'm going to wait till retirement and then I'm going to get into it, it's too late by that time. You're too old. Injuries are creeping up on you, catching up. And so now's the time to do it. Like you said, get it done.
Now is the time. Like, I couldn't imagine doing this. I couldn't imagine doing a goat hunt when I'm 65. It could definitely be done, but it'd be super daunting.
Yeah.
So, I got it done kind of the meaty part of the curve, where I was comfortable, and, it's comfortable as it could be, with weather conditions, what they were, for like the first 4 days. But it was, we got there and do it. It's so much fun. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, exactly. So going back to your childhood there, were you bow hunting or were you rifle hunting? What were you doing?
It was mostly gun. I did have a bow and I did shoot it, but not like I do now. My dad was more into it, but when he was into it, I was probably 7 or 8, so I was really too small. And back then the technology was bad as it was, even making a bow for an adult comfortable to draw was, pretty tough, but, much less for an 8-year-old. I think I had like an old bear, like a little recurve type situation. And, I shot it just putting around, but for the most part, it was always rifle, always shotgun. But it didn't have, like, to me, it didn't have a very hunty feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially hunting in North Carolina, you hunt over corn. So you're basically sitting like a box blind, like, a couple hundred yards away. The deer never know you're there.
Yeah.
I sometimes take radios to the woods with it. It's just, it's not like bow hunting where you've got to, you've got to be sneaky. You got to know what the wind's doing, where the animals want to be, where you need to be.
Yeah.
Just the ins and outs to getting yourself into a position where you can make yourself successful is just, levels of magnitude harder than, rifle hunting. And not rifle guys. What those guys do is, it's still hard to hit a deer at 200 yards with a rifle.
Mm-hmm.
But, some of these guys, I was in, a goat camp with a guy in British Columbia. He shot his goat at 650. That's a ton of talent. But, to me, that's just, I'm just not into that kind of hunt. So,
yeah, you're wanting to, like how I got into bow hunting, the reason why I still like it and got into it is I wanted to, like, hear that animal come in, see its breath and, like, the frosty air, right? Stuff like that. Really get up close, like you're saying. Yeah, like be more about
hearing that deer breathe, watching that bear kind of, the bears are sneaky. Watching those bears move through the woods as big as they are to be as quiet as they are. I've actually seen them where they'll put their foot down and almost like, soften the step before they actually commit to it. So the step is completely silent.
Yeah.
And seeing that stuff is just amazing, which makes the recurve hunting, the stick bow hunting just even harder.
Well, that's next level.
But to get in that, it's just booking a whole bunch of trips is just, it would be tough to afford. Which is why, the must-do hunt, like the compound has to go, because I can do things with that I can't do with the recurve. But I would love to be able to commit to the recurve and just put it down completely.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I enjoy being successful, so I'm just not as great with the recurve as a lot of guys.
Well,
it's still a ton of fun.
We're going to get into a recurve hunt that you had just recently, but before we do that, I just kind of want to go back a little bit in your background. So in your spare time, like at home, you're hunting mainly whitetails, correct?
Whitetails. That's it. My dad and my uncle are doing a dove field down in North Carolina this year. I love dove hunting, because that's one of the things I could do at a younger age and be successful at it.
Yeah.
My dad gave me like a little single shot 410. It took me 2 years to hit my first dove. And after that, I was old enough to kind of handle his Sweet 16 Browning that, his dad gave him when he's 16.
Yeah.
And, after that, it just, it was just, that was my jam. Like dove hunting was my thing.
Yeah.
Like to go deer hunting, that was fun too. But dove hunting was, because again, I was successful. And, being being a small kid, I mean, you know, you like to do things you're successful at. So dove hunting was like my jam.
And
so
action,
we still do that
too.
every year, but
Yeah.
What's that?
And action, like you probably have a lot of action dove hunting.
Oh, it's nonstop.
Yeah.
It's nonstop because they'll grow like an acre of, sunflower seeds, and 3 weeks before season, you just go out there and bush hog it down.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're fighting these things off. I mean, you have anti-aircraft guns. All it does out there. It's just nonstop. And they're so good to eat. You know, you just
there you go.
A little bit of jalapeno and some bacon around them, throw them on the grill, and it's just, you're set. It's just so good.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
But yeah.
So you got into the hunting, but before that, because you kind of referenced your size there, got to let everyone know that you're just not some obese dude walking around. You're
right? So I did do some bodybuilding. I was always a skinny kid. I graduated high school, 6'1", 136 pounds. I actually gained 22 pounds at 19 years old when I joined, the Air Force and did basic training. Like, nobody gains weight in basic training. I gained 22 pounds. I was just so underweight.
Wow.
So, I wanted a little bit more chest, pick up, get a little muscle, pick up some girls. Once the girls got squared away, and it's like, okay, well, maybe I could have a little more chest or a little more back. And, next thing I know, I'm getting, the do you compete comments. It's like, no. It's like, well, maybe I should. And, next thing you know, I'm oily in my underwear and winning shows.
Yeah.
But that's it, that had its place in life. And, I did my own thing and did all my stuff self-coached. And I felt like I kind of, reached the point to where in my mind I was satisfied with, what I had accomplished. And it was kind of, I had a small kid and I kind of wanted to be at home with him more.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of when I got back into the hunting, because I could do that in the backyard, not constantly be tired or, worried about what I'm eating or when I'm going to get to the gym or, I'm constantly sore, tired. I could put all that stuff on the shelf and, a Saturday morning I could wake up at 5 o'clock, go hit the woods for, a few hours. And, by the time he wakes up, I'm just getting home.
Yeah, exactly.
So it just made more sense for my lifestyle and, my family and that kind of thing.
Yeah. 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 The first time I met you, that was in, I guess, 2018, 2019, right? When you came up to hunt with Ryan.
I think it was 2018 was my first
2018.
Yeah. And I think I'd really put it down like in maybe 17.
Yeah. That's okay. So yeah.
And I was still walking around like 295.
Yeah.
Around that.
Yeah.
Probably 270s at the camp. Yeah.
So I remember you commenting on some of my YouTube channels on Rattling Junkie there and whatnot. And you're asking about the hunts and all that. Okay. Yeah. And then Ryan mentioned that you were coming up. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's a guy from the YouTube channel, right? So that was pretty neat. I was up there with Manny and you drove into camp, I guess, in a rental car. Manny comes into where we stay, where the guides stay in the trailer there. And he's like, have you met Eric yet? I'm like, no. He's like, he is huge. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, no, he's huge. I'm like, is it like obese or what are we talking about? Like, is he going can he go up a tree or like, he's like, no, you just got to go meet him. Okay. So I go down to where the wall tents are and I go in there. I was like, hey, Eric, and you're bending over doing something. And you just get up and it's just like, oh, man, he wasn't lying. He was right.
This dude's big.
Yeah. And,
it was a big part of my life. I mean, I spent, it's like everything, man. Once I get my head around something, like I feel like I've got to dive completely to the bottom of it. I got to understand every little nuance to what I'm into. And I don't know. I don't know why my brain works like that. Sometimes it bothers me because I can't just dabble and just like try something out. It's like, if I'm getting into mountain biking, like I've got to be the best mountain biker on earth. Like I got to have the best gear, the best stuff, ride the best trails. It kind of bothers me, but it's good and bad, I guess, because I think a lot of that drives the success I have. And, because I can't do it any other way. Like I can't just kind of phone it in. Like I really have to go after it. Well, it's actually tough getting rid of all that size. I mean, I've died it off for those goat hunts. But, the second I stop, I go to the weight room for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm 270 again. So,
yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of frustrating, but at this point it is what it is.
But it's good though. That's what drives you to be successful. And it seems like you've been successful in hunting and actually a lot of other areas of life, like quite consistently. And that's, I
think so.
I take that.
Yeah.
I would take that over just not really caring, be apathetic, so that's a good thing, so no, that's good.
Right.
Yeah. So then you got the hunting bug, you came up to stick flinger, shot your bear, you shot obviously deer before that. And then you started I noticed like on your Instagram page, you started going off doing these other hunts. I was like, man, Eric is just going after it.
Again, man, so I got into it. So I want to say my first antelope hunt was 17. Struck out there. I think last day we were there, I missed an antelope at 69 yards, shot just a hair over his back. Left and right was perfect. It was just a little tall.
How were you guys hunting? Were you hunting over water holes, or were you doing spot and stock?
No, it was of course, my luck with antelope, it can be dry in Colorado for 6 months. All I need to do to get rain in Colorado is book an antelope hunt, and it's going to rain
Yeah.
for 3 days before I get there. So, every water hole that they're coming to consistently is just worthless. So the first time I got there, it didn't work out. I missed that one on the last day. We basically caught him transition, because he was walking between, I don't want to really say, I mean, it's just two high points. He was kind of walking down between it to another area.
Mm-hmm.
And he had some old telephone poles on the property, and we're able to use the terrain to kind of get behind him.
Yeah.
And, as he's coming up, I was able to kind of, sneak around a little bit and get a range on him and draw back, under cover and kind of stand up real slow.
Yeah.
And just, I just wanted whiffing the shot. I actually went back in 18 and got my antelope there. I think it was a few months after I got my bear.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it definitely was. So a few months after I got my bear, let's see, I think I booked my first goat hunt for 19. That was no go. Good goats, great guide, great area. Animals just didn't cooperate. If they had done what they needed to do for one more day after the weather had moved off, we would have killed the goat.
So where did you go for that
didn't
one?
Work out. I was up in a place called Robson Valley, up in McBride, British Columbia.
Oh yeah,
with Daniel Norton. Yeah, those guys were in a great outfit. Another guy went up there. He got his Australian guy got a black bear and a deer, which is what he was after. Another guy got a moose, 145-inch moose. So it was a good Canadian.
Oh yeah.
And he got his goat. Shot his goat at 650. And I'm just stubborn. I mean, I could have shot a 10-inch billy any day of the hunt with a rifle. It'd have been a 400-yard shot. And, but I'm stubborn. I want to do my stuff with the bow. So I just let him stay. Wound up booking that hunt for 2020 with Dennis Zadra. Wound up getting him on day 4. And Kendall Card and the solo hunter guy, is it Tim Burton?
Oh, yeah,
Tim Burnett?
Yeah.
They did the same hunt that I did. I mean, when I say the same hunt, when you watch their goat video on YouTube, it's like the same guide, it's the same plane, same pilot, the same beach. Yeah. They walk up the exact same area. Kendall shot his goat pretty much on the same, the same range that I did. So watching that hunt was like super freaky because, we camped in the same spot. I mean, there's spots in the video where I actually have pictures from standing in the exact same spot. But that hunt was nuts, man. I mean, there's so many moving parts to a goat hunt with, float planes and bush pilots and food. And Dennis had like 7 guys in camp that week, and everybody's hunt went off without a hitch.
Wow.
A lot of guys connected with goats. Some guys didn't connect. That's how it goes. But as far as the operation, watching that many people go that many places, with so many means of conveyances, whether it be a Zodiac, a boat, a float plane, a car, and all of it to go off without a hitch was super impressive.
That's rare. I'm guessing that's probably
rare. Nuts. I mean, watching those guys move, you could tell they've done it a million times.
Yeah.
Perfect harmony, no problems, and everything happened like it's supposed to.
And where was that?
My buddy shot his goat 30 minutes after I shot mine. He basically went over to another peak and got his goat right behind mine. He was a bow hunter as well, but he's not quite as stubborn as I am. So, he poked his head over after I shot mine and shot his. So we doubled up that day. So that made for an interesting walk out. As far as progression from that, so, I got back from the goat hunt, went on a moose hunt. I think I left. I want to say I left like 12 hours after I got back from the goat hunt, because my hunt was actually booked for 23.
Yeah.
For 22, but he had an open. I guess some got canceled. He got COVID and had to cancel.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to slip up there in 21. Actually, took a 50-inch moose on day 6, and that hunt was ultra tough.
And where was that? That was in Alberta, right? That hunt, the moose.
That
hunt?
was in Alberta with Rick Vischer.
And
again, great camp. Obviously logistics on that one are a lot more simplistic. You just drive to your hunt area and get out and walk.
Where was the goat hunt again? Sorry. Where was the goat hunt? Was that in BC as well?
That was in Cordova, Alaska.
Oh, Alaska.
We hunted in a place called, I want to say, was it, God, I just thought of it a couple of days ago. But it was like Cedar Bay. Yeah. So we left Cordova. We flew about an hour north, and we were in a place called Cedar Bay.
Yeah.
Tough. That hunt was tough. Crampons are not my friend. I learned that the hard way. I thought my training was fine. The only thing I really didn't do was put on crampons and walk on them. That was a nightmare when I had to put those things on.
Yeah. What are crampons? Is that for like grip? Crampons? What are those?
They're almost like cleats.
Oh, okay.
That you put on under your boots and like strap them on. Yeah. So we put them on when we started going up this the wooded area. So there's two sections of tree line we had to go through. First was very moderate, not very steep, lots of blueberries, so lots of brush in your face. The second one we go through was twice as steep, super wet, and instead of putting the side of my foot in the mountain with these crampons, I put my toe in. Mm-hmm. So I was basically walking up on my tiptoes. Yeah. We got maybe 3/4 of the way up, and I feel that little squeak you get right before you get a cramp. Yeah. I was like, oh no. I was like, this is not good. Because I dealt with that issue, during my training. And, I'd fixed it with electrolytes. But for some reason, I got back in the situation. I think the fact that I was using those crampons to just walk on my toes, put too much stress on my calf, so it just gave up on it. Yeah. And right after my calf cramp, we broke through tree line and got the more mellow stuff. But, I started favoring my left leg more because my right leg had cramped up. So, it wasn't long before my left leg went out. Oh, it was a complete mess. I thought I was blowing the hunt, before I had really even gotten into it. We were able to make it a little bit short of where we're actually wanting to put up base camp. By the time we actually set up camp, I'm a complete mess. Man. I'd put 8 months in the training, the diet, pulling sleds around the yard. And, I'm thinking I'd blown the hunt completely. So I get back, I pound, more electrolytes, because I pack these individual, packets of electrolytes for, the number of days I was going to be there. And I put double in case I was going to need it, which I'm glad I did because, I started pounding electrolytes. I had a couple of mountain houses and drank as much water as I could tolerate. Yeah. And, just kind of laid there and, massaged my legs. And the next morning I woke up and they didn't feel 100%, but once we got camp, packed back up and started moving around, I was fine. And, the rest of the hunt went off without a hitch, except coming back down. Had to put those crampons back on to go back down that tree line, because it gets wet and slick and you really do need them. And it's just, I just don't play well with those things. They just don't, they just bring out the worst in my legs.
Yeah. Just the angle, I guess, of how you're using them.
Yeah. It's a love-hate thing, man. I mean, you got to have them because they're useful, but it's just, they're crampy and they're just terrible. Yeah. Didn't like them.
Yeah, that's why they're called crampons.
Exactly.
Yeah,
they're terrible.
Yeah, you're going to get some cramps.
Getting your cramp on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. So you come off that hunt, and then
off that. I'm back home for 12 hours. I don't even unpack my bags. I was able to wash my stuff at the Reluctant Fisherman up in Alaska. So all my bags are still packed. Yeah. Bows all squared away. So basically I land that next day, just put everything by the door. Next morning I get up and go back to Alberta. Rick picks me up. And of course the airlines drop my luggage. Toronto absolutely hates my guts. They lose my boat every single time I go through there. That's didn't Toronto. Show up the first night. So, yeah, it was terrible. Yeah. So it wound up showing up that night, but nobody let me know. They said it was going to be there the next morning. I called that night. The airlines, how they work. Anyhow. Next morning, I get my bow, get everything squared away. We get it shot. Everything's still working. And we strike out. But that hunt was tough, man. I mean, you're walking, through this chest high, alder type stuff. And it's, you're putting on 8 to 12 miles a day. And it's work. I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, I figured come off a goat hunt, cruise control, moose hunt was going to be perfect. But the weather was really hot. The moose weren't really talking. And it wound up coming together on day 6 and just the craziest way.
And what
the first 5 days?
What time frame was this? Was this late September or into October?
This was so my goat hunt was the 14th or the 15th to the 20th, maybe. Yeah, it was a 6th, something like that. So I think my moose hunt was late September, maybe September 25th.
Yeah, so you're catching the rut.
It was an 8-day hunt, so the 31st or the 1st or something. So it was late September. I mean, it definitely should have been cool, but I mean, we were looking at 80-degree days. We'd wake up and it'd be 40 degrees, but as soon as the sun got up past, 9, 10 o'clock, it's 65, 70 degrees, and they just weren't talking. Yeah. And we went 5 days. We saw 1 or 2, just where we happened upon them. But the sixth day, I picked up a guy named Daryl. The guy I was hunting with before had to go back to work. You know how it goes. You know, he had work commitments. So, you know, I got paired up with another guide. And, you know, his way of hunting was much more reminiscent of the way I hunt. Like he'd walk into the wind. You know, he wouldn't move unless the wind was blowing. You know, he was very, very cautious. The other guy, you know, we need to go to point A to point B. We just went. And, you know, of course, I don't know moose hunting, so I'm behind a moose guide. I'm just doing what he does.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know, I really felt more in sync with, you know, with Daryl's way of hunting. And so day 6 comes, you know, we've been walking nonstop. I mean, it starts at 5 in the morning. You just don't stop. You know, you're just walking all day. So we finally get to this place. You know, we've been walking and calling all day. It's 85 degrees. The weather's terrible. Nothing's making any noise. We're not seeing anything in, you know, in the distance. Basically, during the midday, we just set up this decoy we had handmade with burlap. It looked amazing. You know, we'd set it up at the end of this, basically like a little slough bottom. And, you know, basically hope to catch something just walking by. And if we did, maybe we'd call to and get his attention. So the hotter part of the days we do that. In the morning, we kind of, you know, spot and stalk, kind of, you know, set up and call and then move off. So, you know, at the end of the day, we pretty much throw a Hail Mary. He's like, we're going to go back as far as I go back. He's like, we're going to try there. He's like, if we don't get anything there, we'll just call back to the car. Mm-hmm. So, you know, he calls and he gets set up. He's like, you know, when I have seen them, they come off this ridge. So I'm going to set up here. You set here, blah, blah, blah. So he sets up, and the way Daryl would do it, he called maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we just pack up shop and move.
Yeah.
And his calling was very, the other guy, he sounded more desperate. You know, the cow call sounded more desperate.
Yeah.
His cow call kind of sounded like, you know, like I'm over here, and if you're interested, come check me out. If that makes any sense at all.
So Daryl,
that's just kind of the feeling I've got from like listening to the call.
Yeah.
So anyhow, he's doing his thing. He's calling. Nothing's happening. 20, 30 minutes go by. And I see him over there breaking down camp. I'm like, okay, you know, so quiver back on the bow, you know, take my arrow off the quiver, you know, off the rest, put it in the quiver, throw the backpack on. And as I'm walking over to him, you know, I hear that, you know.
Oh, nice.
And it's my first time hearing like a moose grunt outside of YouTube, right? So if I'm in the, you know, if I'm in a tree stand in, you know, Virginia, and I hear a deer grunt, I can, you know, okay, he's 85 yards that way behind that little tree.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I hear a moose grunt, I have no idea. You know, and I'm walking up to Daryl, like, you know, Daryl, I heard the moose grunt. You know, it kind of sounds like he's in the next county, but I definitely heard a moose grunt. And, you know, he's been over, he's got his head in his book bag, and he looks up, he's like, he's 75 yards away, he's walking right at us.
Did he see it at that point or just heard it?
You know, what's that?
Did Daryl see the moose at that point, or did he just hear the grunt and knew like exactly how far away?
When he picked his head up and looked back toward me, he laid eyes on the bull, and it's like he's 75 yards away, and he's walking directly at us.
Wow.
So half of me doesn't believe him, half of me does, and I kind of spin my head around. Of course, I'm trying to spin my big noggin around as quick as possible, but as, you know, as sneakily as possible. Yeah. And, you know, I look back, and here he comes. He's a 50-inch moose. He's doing that stiff-legged, you know, waddle back and forth, you know, grunting every time his foot hits the ground. You know,
oh, nice. His antlers are swaying back and forth.
And I'm just thinking, all I can see are the bases coming off this dude, and they look like Louisville sweaters. I mean, it's just a monster. You know, the black coat, the really gray-looking face. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, range him. Because he's got my rangefinder. You know, because in those distances, you know, if I set my pin at 30, you know, I'm good out to 40, and I'm, you know, anything closer than that, I'm just aiming a little bit more.
Yeah.
So he's got my rangefinder, and he starts ranging this thing. He, you know, 65, 60, 55, 50. When I hear that, I spin my slide down to 45, and I draw and turn. Mm-hmm. And when I do, this thing stops. And when he stopped absolutely dead on facing me. And looking at a moose dead on at 45 yards through my housing looks like looking at a whitetail at 20 yards. Yeah. I felt like I had the entire moon to hit. Yeah. You know, it looked like I had such a huge spot. My draw was nice and smooth. Everything settled in. I was calm.
Nice.
It's just the way the situation happened. You know, the goat situation was completely different. I don't know how I shot that goat because I don't remember drawing my bow. I don't remember touching my release. This was completely different. And when I settled on him, I settled right between, basically halfway between his chin and the bottom of his brisket. And when I touched it off, the arrow completely disappeared. Center cut. And, I hit my knees like Defoe in Platoon. I was like, that moose is dead. He's dead as a doornail. He's got a rage at least 30 inches in his chest. Like, there's no way.
What
and
broadhead?
Daryl's like, dude, you missed him. Daryl thought I missed him. He was like, dude, you missed him. Because I guess he was looking at, his side and expecting to zip through him. He's like, dude, you missed him. I was like, dude, that's a dead bull. I shot him dead in the chest.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, no. He's like, that's a terrible shot. He's like, he's going to run forever. I was like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. I've shot enough stuff. I'm not shot much stuff, but I've shot enough to know that he's not living through that shot.
Well,
I'm freaking out. I'm calling my dad. One of the hunters like a mile away said he could hear me going.
That's
and he's like, no, he's like, just wait. He's like, the frontal shots they're iffy. Let's give him some time. Like, okay, well, I'm at least going to go find first blood. Like, at least give me that because I'm about to jump completely into outer space. Got to do something.
Yeah.
So I walk up, I find blood. It's very obvious where it is. So I go back to Daryl. And I feel like I'm like a 5-year-old in the candy store. Like I'm pulling his shirt. I'm like, Dad, let's go find this moose. I feel like I'm just completely on him. Finally, 25 minutes go by. We find this blood. We go back to first blood. And he's walking with his head down, for like the first step. He takes another step and he kind of comes up a little bit more. Third step a little bit more. By the time he takes his fourth step, he's just walking full speed down this blood trail that looks like he drug a bloody mop to the room. He walks about 40 yards and turns and looks, and he's like, "There's your moose." And he almost sounded confused, like he couldn't process what had just happened. Like the moose had literally gone 80 yards.
Yeah.
And I didn't know at the time, but they've got 4 jugular veins that basically tie up right there in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get every one of those because for a moose that's that big to lose that much blood to die inside of 80 yards, to me it's equivalent of like a whitetail dying inside of 20. Like it just completely catastrophic. The arrow was actually buried in his hip.
Yeah.
Like his pelvis.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. We dug him out. He dug out it was like four like basketball sized clumps of blood.
Wow.
It just opened him completely up. But that was completely unexpected. Like, I was hoping to get an okay moose. I wasn't expecting to get like a great moose, which to me is, he was a great moose.
Well, Pope and Young, right?
He was Pope and Young. I think he scored, I think the minimum for that one's 135. I think he made 139, but he had a bunch of deductions. Because I guess they were saying he was older. Daryl was saying he thought he was almost blind because of the way he walked, guys. But I guess their brow tines in the front start growing together.
Mm-hmm.
And mine only had 2. And, he had a brow tine on each side. But one of them came out and forked off. And Mark was saying if he hadn't forked off like that, I would have saved like 9 inches of deductions because I could have counted as, basically 1 point on each side instead of 2 points.
Yeah.
Taking the difference. So, but I think he took 139. So he made it. But, not by a ton. But, either way, couldn't be happier with him.
Yeah. The pictures really are good too.
And after that one, some moose happened. Something after moose.
Hey, I just wanted to, I want to get into that, but you kind of hit on something, the broadhead of choice. And we won't talk about it too much, but which broadhead were you using?
This is going to stir a lot of folks up. You know it.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
Rage. I shoot out of my compound. I will not shoot at an animal with anything other than a Rage broadhead.
Really?
They are too devastating. People say, oh, they're flimsy. They don't hold up. I don't care if they don't hold up as long as they do their job once. And I've never had one on an arrow that's placed properly not do their job exactly as advertised, even on big animals. So when I shot that goat, when I peeked my head over that corner, he was hiding behind a rock. He was kind of bedded down behind a rock. When I stood up over the rock, he was facing me with his face basically at 7 o'clock and his butt at maybe 1 o'clock. I mean, he was so tight to me. I basically had like a ping pong sized area because, if I went to the left anymore, I'm hitting his front shoulder. If I go to the back anymore, I'm basically hitting his hip.
Yeah.
And it was 26 yards, so I felt comfortable when I hit him with it. But again, that arrow buried completely up to the nock, and it only stopped because it hit his back pelvis, his back, his back leg bone, and then buried into it.
Yeah.
Goat went maybe 80 yards tops.
Yeah.
If my shot had been an inch long on that moose, it would have blown through him lengthwise.
Oh, for sure it would.
And people completely blown through him lengthwise. And the guys in the camp didn't even believe it until Daryl actually came. He's like, he's like, when I was actually getting it out, because you could see him when he actually found the arrow, had to give it like a little, to kind of get it like unstuck. So it had enough energy to actually, pierce the bone a bit.
Yeah.
So I'm stuck on the Rage, man. Seeing what they do, to animals that, of course, on properly made shots, but that goes without saying.
Oh, that's with any broadhead.
They are absolutely, it's like launching a nuclear warhead at these things. They just cannot deal with it.
Yeah.
They just can't take it. They've got to, their blood pressure loss is so significant in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
The track jobs are almost easy.
Yeah. Yeah. What way to arrow
being
then?
Set out of the recurve, I do shoot the iron wills because they're just tough heads. They're badass. And they're
awesome.
Amazingly
heads.
Sharp, like almost too sharp if that's even such a thing. It's sketchy even handling these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they absolutely do the job.
Yeah. So what weight of arrow were you using for the moose arrow? Do you remember that?
I shoot a 420 grain arrow.
Okay.
I have no idea what my front of center is. I just know it paper tunes and it shoots darts.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't get into the whole, I got 16.2% front of center versus 14. It's so much better. It's like, if I shoot stuff where you're supposed to hit stuff, it dies.
No, I'm with you on that.
That's, you know what I mean? I don't need to, complicate it. It's not rocket science.
Exactly. No,
just shoot stuff and kill stuff. That's all the result and proof I need to see.
Yeah. And you're probably pulling back 70 pounds with the compound.
Yeah. Right now I'm still stuck on that Traverse. I've got that new Matthews, but I can't let go of the Traverse. Like it's just
shoots too nice.
Everything about that bow is just so perfect for me. The string angle, the way it touches, like it's a 70-pound bow. I got a 31-inch draw. So, I've kind of got some advantage there.
Oh, huge.
But as far as the feel of that bow, it's just, it's going to be tough for me to get the switch to anything else.
Yeah.
It's 420 grain arrow, 100 grain broadhead. I think I get 324 feet per second out of it. I think the K on it's upwards of 93. It's just
wow.
The setup on it's just silly. It's just silly.
That is silly. Like I wish I had that. I'm dealing with the 27.
It's silly. If cinder blocks had a hunting season, I wouldn't need to change my rig at all to kill them.
Yeah.
It's just so powerful.
Yeah.
And, I get guys all the time, you're shooting Twizzler sticks and blah, blah, blah. It's
don't get me
okay.
Yeah, don't get me started
fine.
on
shoot
that.
Whatever you want to shoot accurately, but this is my setup, and it's tried and true, for sure.
I would say so.
Yes, sir.
So, you did I just wanted to get into that just a little bit, just so some guys probably will ask if we didn't touch on that.
For sure. Some guys will probably start listening as soon as I said I don't shoot anything but Rage.
Well, that's okay. I'm with you. I love Rage.
They clicked off right now.
Yeah, that's okay. I like Rage as well. I use those things, but for a smaller draw length guy, like for my moose hunt this year, I'm probably going to be using QAD Exodus heads. Just I need something.
Another popular head, man.
Yeah. I've used them in the past, and they've worked well. I've used Iron Wills as well. Well, Noah has, and again, those are awesome heads. Like you say, they stay sharp. If I had to go out in the wilderness and stay out there for days and days, or months, I should say, like that show alone.
Oh yeah.
I would take
for sure
Iron Will broadheads with me.
I'm taking a dozen Iron Wills and I'm not going to have any problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, totally fine.
Yeah, that's right. So you did your moose hunt. Now you're going into a muskox hunt.
Moose and muskox. And a lot of these hunts kind of stacked on top of each other because of the whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
So, I wish I could afford to go hunt like this all the time, but, with 20 and 21 being locked down, once 22 opened up, I had, basically 2 hunts get pushed over into, an already pretty decent schedule. So I just had a lot of stuff stack up. So I finally got to go up to Cugluck to get after the muskox. That I hunted with, Dan Frederick out of Americana. Again, he's out of Edmonton. Great shot they run. Everything with those guys was first class. Good equipment, good guys. Food was good. That whole thing. But they just got animals. The animals up there are just enormous. I shot so I lost the coin flip. Met a guy named Mike Riley out of Texas.
Okay.
Gun hunter. So meet him up. So of course I'm going to check in at Edmonton, Canadian North. I see him with sick a backpack on, and he's got his gear on, so I was like, it's got to be the guy. Introduce myself to him, ask him what he's chasing. He says muskox. We high five and chest bump. Going about our business. Get to know each other. We're sitting in Yellowknife. I'm like, all right, dude, here we go. Call it for first shot. He calls heads, flip it, I lose, so he's up the back. We come across 3 muskox first day. We've been on the Kamatuck ride. which for me, this Kamatuck ride was first class compared to the other one, but we'll get into that.
Okay, so a Kamatuck,
so,
what is
we're
that?
We're riding this Kamatuck.
Yeah.
OJ spots them. There's 3 of them.
So, hey, Eric, just hold up there. What is that thing that you're riding? Kamatuck? It's called
Kamatuck.
What is that?
It's basically, it's like a 15-foot long sled that's got, basically like a little cockpit in it, that they settle your stuff in. You sit on top of it. It's got a windscreen on it, and they throw you in there, and you just hang on. And they pull it with these snowmobiles, and off you go.
Yeah.
The problem is these runners on these things. If they made these runners, a foot long and articulated, so they could go up and down and make for a much better ride.
Yeah.
They're not churching it up too much in Cudluck. So you get these 15-foot runners. So if that 15-foot runner is being pulled over, a little 7-inch gap.
Yeah.
By the time it's going to get to where the front of the sled is coming down, it's already 5 feet in the air. So that thing falls pretty hard.
Yeah.
So it makes for a rough ride.
Yeah.
So we were probably on the snowmobiles for probably 5 or 6 hours, and we come across them.
Yeah.
Mike's got first shot. In my opinion, there was only one shooter in the bunch. He had it all.
Mm-hmm.
Good bosses, good wits. Carried his mass out really long. He was broken on one side. But I kind of like that, man. It gives him character. He's a badass. He's been out there mixing it up and stuff. But his hide was absolutely perfect. Like he had a very clear delineation, of was it Kivot? The Kivot on, the very top of his back that kind of comes down his shoulder line. You know how when they do the big shoulder mounts that are kind of turned to the side,
mm-hmm.
They cut that kind of shoulder area way back.
Yeah.
We had that super crisp delineation between that, real tight furry stuff, on the hump of his neck that comes down into kind of shaggy stuff on his legs.
Yeah.
With none of that shed. I mean, some of them get that shed that kind of hangs out there that kind of looks raggedy.
Yeah.
None of that. I mean, everything about this was like, I'll shoot him right now and be completely happy.
Yeah.
But it was Mike's shot, so I'm figuring, okay, he's going to shoot his bull. We're going to get up there and skin him up, set camp, maybe go look for a little bit longer. But today's going to be over. So we kind of ride around to one side. Mike kind of rides around to the other. And, I got the glass and I'm looking, and, I hear the rifle pop. And when I hear the rifle pop, the smaller muskox in the group kind of jumps. I'm thinking, I turned to Randy. I was like, dude, did he just shoot the smaller muskox? He's like, I think so. And about the time he said that, he dropped.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, give me the bow. Give me the bow right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to get this other one. So I don't know if he got the bulls confused or if OJ got the bulls confused.
Yeah.
How the wires got crossed. But he wound up taking one of the smaller bulls.
Yeah.
So I go and get mine, and we get in a position to make a stop on this thing. The first shot I shot, I put him at maybe 22 yards. My point of reference is a little bit different as far as my shoot. Terrible shot.
What are you shooting?
We kind of played this cat and mouse thing.
Yeah.
For 30, 45 minutes. I'd walk up, I got my arm up, waiting for him to stop, so I can come to full draw and get a shot off.
Yeah.
So as soon as I get close to the point I want to make a shot, he'd run. So I had to put the bow down, walk up to him, and my arm would come up. So I felt like I basically walked around my arm up on this thing for 30 or 45 minutes, which is probably why I dropped the shot to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Getting
Regardless,
tired.
it was a shitty shot. It punched the front, his front leg bone, no penetration, fell right out.
Yeah.
And but luckily, these things, they're not like whitetail. You spook a whitetail, they'll run to the next county.
Yeah.
This thing kind of ran, maybe 100 yards and just stopped again. I was able to walk up on the hunt on these things is not real challenging. I think most people that have ever looked into a muskox hunt kind of know that. But it's the terrain is the challenge there, not so much the animal. So the hunt was pretty simple. But the second time he let me walk up, the shot was about 30 yards. Got a perfect arrow in him, maybe 3/4 penetration.
Yeah.
He went maybe 80 yards.
Yeah.
And that wound up scoring 116. I'm actually going to go get the score officially on him, but it's looking like he's top 4 with a recurve.
Oh, wow. You got him with a recurve.
He's 11 inches over Boone Crockett. Like, he's a monster.
Wow. No kidding. Jeez.
Yeah. So hopefully that score will hold up. And, just based on where it hold up, I want him to get, a big kill with the recurve. But he had some weird stuff on his lungs. So, we're breaking him down. We got him all quartered up. They go in for the tenderloins, and he was like, he pulls his lungs out and he makes mention of his lungs. And they had these black nodules on them. It turned out it was tuberculosis.
No way.
And he's like, yeah, man, yeah, he had tuberculosis. But he's like, yeah, dude, he's like, I wouldn't, because I noticed it immediately. As soon as I see his lungs, I'm like, you know, the thought had come to my mind to say, hey, his lungs aren't supposed to look like that. But as soon as the lungs came out, everybody noticed. Apparently, he's like, that, because they're black, you know, lungs look pink. But they were black. They had little nodules on them. You push the nodules on them, and it was really gross. And so we had to leave the meat. He's like, I wouldn't take the meat. He's like, I'm gonna take the lung back and get it tested or whatever. But yeah, he let me know it actually came back as tuberculosis.
Oh wow.
But so we didn't take that. Mike took his meat.
Yeah.
He shared with me a little bit, so that was awesome. But quick hunt, and it's one of those ones that I got to do again. Like the Arctic, like going to the Arctic is just, it's not like any other place you're gonna go. Like logistics to get stuff up there, it's such a challenging place, even just to live. You know, to be able to go there and hunt, and see those weird looking animals it's just. Some guy said it was like scuba diving on the moon, and that's really about as it's about as close to an accurate analogy as you could really put on it. It's just, it's so different. Like everything's cold and it's just different, but it's super fun.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like you were saying, the hunting aspect isn't necessarily challenging, but it's like everything else involved, and that is a hunt you would do again.
It is. It's like getting up there, the flight's up there. You know, you got to bounce around and. You know, a lot of puddle jumpers, and they're basically cargo planes. So the front half of these planes are just, you know, stuffed with cargo, and the back half is, you know, passenger planes.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's tough to get up there. Once you're up there, you know, you have to be bundled up. You know, everything's super heavy. You know, it's 40 below. All your water freezes. It's just, it's challenging. I mean, you take your hands out of those gloves for seconds, and they're stinging. It's really no joke, and it's just, it has such a different feel to it. I mean, it's almost like you're on another planet. I really don't know how to describe it. Just the feel of it, the look of it, and then just the casual way the locals go about navigating it. It's intimidating. It really is just how casual they are with, you know, what they need to do in such a harsh environment. It's really impressive, honestly.
Yeah, no kidding. So they make it seem a bit like easy kind of thing. Like how
it's day to day. It's day to day. I mean, like, you know, I'm down here at the beach right now, and I couldn't imagine how these guys would feel in 80-degree temperatures. You know, because they're casual about being, you know, light jacket, hoodie, bare hands, you know, doing like skinning a muskox in negative 37-degree weather, and you know, it's impressive, man. It really is impressive.
Yeah, that's cool though. That you would do it again. I guess you probably will. I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's finances, man. That stuff's, you know, it's always fun to want to go do, but
yeah, that's right.
If the bank account allows, we'll definitely go back and check it out. But the muskox is one of those ones that's not really a bank breaker. I mean, everything's getting more expensive, but I mean, you can go on a really good muskox hunt. You know, I mean, some of these hunts, I mean, you're talking like a desert sheep hunt. You can get $75,000 into one of these hunts, you know?
No kidding.
But the muskox is something you could definitely get into for, I think I got mine for like $8,500.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not astronomical, but it's not, you know, a drop in the bucket either. I mean, it's definitely something that I had to plan for and save for and work for and, you know, that whole thing. So, and that's another thing, like all my hunts, like I'm not sponsored. I don't have anybody paying the bills or, you know, sending me on these hunts. So when I go on these hunts, like I work for them. Yeah. And it's, you know, to me, it makes it, I kind of like the pressure because, you know, like I got some hunts coming up. The hunt I got coming up next month. It's not a hunt I can rebook. Yeah. So, you know, I got to put the work in. I got to do, you know, I got to shoot my bow. I got to get everything dialed in. So if I get that one opportunity, I have to capitalize because I can't grind out another Thule elk hunt, you know, while trying to maintain like a healthy family life, social life and everything else without having to, you know, work my life away on overtime to, you know, afford these hunts. So. Yeah. That's right. But but I kind of like the pressure, man. It makes it much more enjoyable.
Do you think not being sponsored and being independent kind of frees you up to do what you want? Kind of like gives you that freedom of just, hey, you're going to shoot
100%. Because you know, once I got to a certain stature in bodybuilding, so to speak, like, you know, people want me to, you know, pump their products or do this or do that, and of course I agreed to it because I, you know, at the time it was like, you know, being in the hunt, like I wanted to help out, like being a part of it, like talking about it. But at the end of the day, like that stuff is, it really binds you up. You really can't speak your mind as far as, like the guy giving me protein, like the protein, no problem. But if I didn't like it, I really couldn't say anything about it because he's giving it to me. But so I didn't want to get into this thing and do that. Like, just do my own thing, give people like honest opinions and go from there. Like, to me, it makes it worth it, where you can say, yes, this sucks, or this is amazing. Pick up 5 of them,
Yeah.
So to me, it's super freeing. So I don't answer anybody. I can give an honest opinion on something. And if I'm using it, in my mind, it's the absolute best, for what I'm going for. And that's it. That's how it kind of operates.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. At the end of the day, I met another local guy here. He was sponsored in fishing quite heavily, transitioned over to hunting. And man, he's done really, really well with the hunting world. And he just said, you know what? He wasn't going to go into sponsorship at all. Nothing. He didn't want that. He just wanted to be independent because he had a taste of that in the fishing world. And it just, he didn't have
absolutely. I completely get it. Yep.
Yeah. So, exactly. That's all good. So you do the musk ox. That was on what day again? Day 4, did you say? No, day 1.
Day 1.
Yeah.
So it was a 5-day hunt. So day 1 we got on, and Mike wound up taking a smaller one. I took the bigger one.
Yeah.
And wound up staying on the ice that night. And out the next day. So it was one of those things where you kind of get a taste out of it, but to the point to where by the time you're leaving, it's nowhere near enough experience.
Exactly.
So it kind of gives you that feeling like, God, you should have just not shot that bull and just stayed out there for a few days. But it's kind of hard to do that when when you take like an extreme example of an animal, in my opinion.
Oh well, that's
and you got such a great trophy. So it's pros and cons, but it's definitely one of those things that I want to experience again.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't pass that up. Day 1, it's like that big bear you shot this year in spring. It's like, what are you waiting for?
The day 1 stuff has been. I've had a couple of those hunts, like the goat hunt kind of drug on where, my mind, I'm kind of thinking, shit, I'm going to have to rebook this hunt. Or, day 6 of the moose hunt, I'd already rebooked the moose hunt. I'd already talked to Rick about coming back. Like, nobody in camp was seeing anything. Like it was, and for the way it went down was just unbelievable.
Oh,
because he basically walked to us. We weren't in a position to have him come in at all. But I'll take it however I can get it. I'm not picky.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, we're hunters, right? And however the chips lay, that's how they happen to pan out, right? So.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So then you do the musk ox, you come back, and then it looked like you did a buffalo hunt down in the States, or a couple of them.
Yeah, I did a buffalo hunt back in 2020. So when everything was kind of that first year.
Oh,
actually,
okay.
This is before everything.
So this is before the musk ox.
2020 was supposed to have. So for 2020, I was supposed to do cougar in around, actually that was supposed to be in November, but the weather didn't work out, and I wound up coming out in January. Yeah. Me and my buddy Sean had a bison hunt book for January. Yeah. So January of 2020, I got a cougar and I got a buffalo.
Yeah.
And that was really it for 2020. But that hunt was super fun. And actually my son went back. So he got his black belt in Taekwondo last year.
Oh, nice.
And we've been out of bison meat for quite a while. And, I figured as like a present, for his 5 years of hard work at 8 years old, we'll take him to shoot a bison. So, we got him a crossbow. He was shooting every day. We're shooting out to about 45 yards every day.
Yeah.
And went back to Shannon's place out in South Dakota. And it was a day 1 situation. And again, the buffaloes aren't, they're basically musk ox for, people in South Dakota. They're not the smartest. They're herd animals.
Yeah.
They're not let you walk up to them. You got to sneak up on them. But they're not whitetails where if anything is even remotely off, they'll run for 4 hours. They're not like that.
Yeah.
But he was able to get on his. We spotted him. We spotted him early that morning, and it took us about 3.5 hours to actually work up to where he could get a spot. But he took a 53-yard shot with his crossbow.
Wow.
And it took impressive. a super nice bison himself.
Wow.
And got a ton of meat off of it. We've been eating steaks and burgers and tacos.
Yeah.
Because we've got so much of it to go through between that, the moose, the goat, and it's just eating like kings, man. It's nice. Tough to complain about the meat.
So when you hunted your bison, did that get you thinking to go out for muskox? Is that why you decided to go for muskox?
I don't really. I think the muskox was one of those things where like it was a cool animal, and it was inside of a price range. It wouldn't take me years to work for.
Mm-hmm.
And along the same lines as the buffalo, like the buffalo's awesome. Like you can use so much off the animal.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where it's like, it's affordable. It's something, I can work for, I can save for 6-8 months, whatever it's going to be, and actually book it and do it versus, drooling over a stone sheep hunt for 75 grand that, I'll have to do when I'm retired because it's going to take me that long to save up for it.
Yeah.
So it's, kind of taking these low hanging fruit hunts off the tree, kind of one at a time. So I'm just pretty much taking those hunts that I could do and afford and, not have to work for 5 years to get into.
Yeah.
So I think at this point I've got 4 deer, the bear, the muskox, cougar. I think I got 13 of the 29.
Is that I was going to ask you, is that your ultimate goal, is the 29?
So right now the goal is the Super 10. So if everything goes well on my Dall sheep hunt and I'm able to, if I'm getting lucky enough to tag a Dall sheep and a mountain caribou, I'll have a Super 10. Yeah. And that's really the goal. Because financially the way hunts are going, it's just, it's getting so carried away. Yeah. Hunts have gone up. I mean, I've seen some hunts that were, 10 grand this year going for 17. Yeah. Or, some hunts that are 15, they doubled and gone to 30. Yeah. And the prices will never come down. I mean, if they're getting the money for them now, they're never going to come back down. No. So right now I've got all the hunts that I've got booked, I've got paid for. And if I'm lucky enough to come up with a Super 10, after that, I'll, if I get the Super 10, I'll have, I think, 17 of the 29.
What is the Super 10?
Yep.
What is
just one of each species. So, a deer, a bear, a goat, pronghorn, moose, elk, sheep, what else? Caribou. I'm missing 2. And I think it's either like a mountain goat and then I think it's either a bison or a muskox or maybe both. Yeah. So it's basically just one of all the species.
Oh, okay. I see. So it can be a bit, it's doable if you work hard at it for.
It's doable. Yeah. A Super 10 is absolutely doable. I mean, especially if you live in Alaska and you can like draw a sheep tag.
Oh, no kidding.
Or even in the States. I mean, it's going to take you 25 years, or you can be that 13-year-old that applies once and draws it. Yeah, that's right. But it's just it's absolutely doable. Absolutely doable.
So like now let's get into, because everyone's been waiting for this, your polar bear hunt.
Polar bear hunt. So this ball got rolling. A buddy of mine named Luke Anderson tagged me in a post on the Wild Sheep Foundation's Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
It was basically like a last minute cancellation. Of course, as soon as I see this, because polar bears are, they're one of the ones that I shopped early. Mm-hmm. And, it's like 45 grand with, a $10,000 trophy fee and some flights together, they're $5 grand plus. Yeah. Because once you get basically Edmonton or Ottawa, you're flying Canadian North, and they want an arm and a leg to take you up there. Yeah. So, of course, these are one of the hunts I looked at, saw the price tag and immediately just think, well, until I win the lottery, there's no need me like even looking at this information. So it's, it's fun to think about, but, I'll never do it. So just move on. Yeah. So he tags me this post. I'm expecting to open it up and say, oh, we've discounted it from 50 to 47. Yeah. Well, he wanted 20 for it. And I'm thinking, well, 20, that's not terrible. And I look, it's like 20 Canadian. I'm thinking, holy shit. Like that's, that would hurt. I mean, that would put a big dent into what little bit I've got saved up, but it's doable. And it's one of these hunts that I'll never be able to do again at this price. Yeah. So I call the guy up. When I call the guy up, he gives me a phone number to a dude. I call that dude. That dude puts me in touch with the actual outfitter. Oh, wow. So that had a kind of a sketchy feeling to it. Yeah, it's kind of like bouncing around between so many folks. But when I was realizing who these folks were, and, the one guy added me on Instagram immediately. And this dude has been everywhere and gotten everything with, clearly a reputable dude, works tight with the, Wild Sheep Foundations. He was a good dude. But he wound up putting me in touch with a guy named Joe Verney. I called Joe, told him I saw the hunt. I was super interested, not kicking tires. I think it was like 10:30. Just getting home with the kid. I'd been working that day. We had taekwondo and singing practice, like the whole thing. So it's late. And I didn't want to get into a whole situation, like talking numbers and everything in such a late situation, got to get the kid into bed. So I was like, listen, I was like, I want the hunt. I'll take the hunt. I was like, before I commit to sending a deposit, I was like, let's tag up tomorrow morning, talk about the details, talk about the particulars. Airline fare was like one of the big ones because this was in Coral Beach.
Yeah.
And Coral Beach I think it was a little bit more northeast from where I hunted.
Is this all?
I wanted to talk about airfare and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He said, no problem. I wound up getting a text from like 3 a.m. saying he sold the hunt. Thinking,
no way.
Shit. I'm like, yeah. And, I was like, I can't blame the guy. He's trying to move a hunt. He's last minute cancellation thing. I get it. No problem.
Yeah.
And plus, it's making a big decision like that for that much money, inside of a span of 10 minutes, it makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Like super nervous.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's kind of one of those things where it sucked that it went by, but, I was kind of in a position where I didn't have to kind of roll the dice on that much money. So it, was what it was.
Yeah.
So, go on the muskox hunt, come back. I'm back from the muskox hunt for, I think, 2 weeks. And I see Joe's number come up. And I'm thinking, here we go. I was like, maybe this other guy canceled, and he needs to get me on a plane now. And, hopefully I can get, a couple grand off the price, maybe. Anyhow, he calls me up and says, look, he's like, I got another cancellation. He's like, it's in a different area, but it's a little bit more expensive. He's like, but the bears are generally better. I'm like thinking, okay, well, what's the price? He's like, $22,500. I'm thinking, well, $22,500 is still not terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Not compared to, 20. It's still a bit more, but it's not terrible.
No,
so it's, like,
it's not bad at all.
It's still not, not for that hunt compared to, what some other guys have done.
That's
because
right.
You could put 65 in this hunt, no problem.
Wow. That's,
especially the ones up in Resolute Bay, because when you get up there, if you start missing these flights, because they fly to Resolute Bay Mondays and Thursdays,
mm-hmm.
and the hotel rooms are like $350 a night. So, you miss your Monday flight, you're going to shell out another grand just to hopefully leave on Thursday. So,
wow.
If you don't leave that Thursday, because Randy Cooling did his, I think he said he hunted for 2 days and he was gone for 20 door to door, just with all the traffic, all the commuting and back and forth, delayed flights and all that kind of stuff. So, you can really spend a lot of money just on, the ancillary stuff.
So he was gone. He was gone. He hunted 2 days and he was gone from home for 20 days.
He was gone from home for 20.
Wow.
20.
That's insane. Just with the travel.
That is nuts.
And this is up in Nunavut that you're doing this?
His was up in Resolute Bay. Those guys that go to Resolute Bay, they're the ones that really take a beating. Because mine was later in the year. So mine was, was mine in March? Yeah, I want to say I shot him on March 7th. So it was much later in the year. It was about the same line of latitude as my cub lug tug hunt.
Yeah.
So it wasn't much further north, if any. But that made, the temperatures were in about the 20s, and they would get down to like the negatives. So it made made the apparel, my hunting, my clothing choices a little bit difficult. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, we'll get more into that, like, as far as like, getting the whole story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he calls me up, we talk about it. He has a secretary run a price check on the tickets, came back. I want to say like $2,000, and that was Canadian. So it worked out, around 17.
Yeah.
So everything looked right. It sounded right. It gave me enough time. It gave me enough time to work through April because I had, I basically worked the entire month of April. So I didn't have to take a bunch of time off in April and miss a bunch of overtime. So that worked out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. So I booked the hunt, sent him a deposit, paid for it. Apparently some Hungarian guy had booked it for 2020 and couldn't get over. And he ran an outfitting business in Hungary. So by the time everything opened up for those guys, he was like, look, man, I'm just too busy to leave. I just can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
My business would fall apart. So he had to scrap it. I wound up booking it, and Joe was amazing. Everything this guy did from start to finish, he was probably the most thorough guy that I've ever dealt with. Because when he his assistant bought the tickets, right? So anytime a flight would change was for the Canadian North flights, they change all the time. Departure times always change. I'd see the email show up, and before I could really check the email, he was already calling me up to let me know the flight had changed. Like he was all over everything. Like he was almost like staring at his phone, just in case any change got made, he could call me and let me know. It was super impressive.
Well, that's great.
But we booked the hunt. I do the waiting. I'm shooting my bow every single day, 20, 25 yards. Just trying to get really ready for it because I want to do it all all recurve. I've seen these guys with the dogs. I was going to take the compound as a backup, but I really wanted to get it done with the recurve. So I got about 20 yards in my basement, so I was able to practice indoors every day. And that's it. So, we booked it, got everything done. Day of the flight, we're flying at a place called Hall Beach, none of it.
Yeah.
So flight went off normally. I mean, I got into camp like I was supposed to. Of course, the flights got pushed back. I was supposed to originally get into town at 4 o'clock, got there at 9. No big deal. At least I got there on the same day, which, getting that far north, the same day you're expected to get there is, a feat in itself.
Yeah.
So, I get there, I meet a nookie, I meet his wife, Ruthie, good people, didn't speak English that well and kind of hard of hearing. So it kind of made our conversations a little delicate. We just still got it done. One of the younger guys named Joey, he spoke good English. So most of the communicating happened with, between Joey and I. He takes me to, one of the hotels in town. I get set up, unpack all my gear, get all my gear out. String my bow, check brace height, draw it back, make sure everything's good to go. And that kind of thing. We just waited till the next morning. And, next morning shows up, a nookie comes and gets me. They go get some groceries and stuff, and we saddle up. And, he's got his dogs. And, all these videos I've seen of these dogs are like vicious.
Yeah.
And they turn these dogs on the polar bear. Like their sole mission in life is to take that polar bear out.
Yeah.
And, he's like, look, the dogs are kind of, Joe's telling me before I get here, he's like, a lot of the Americans like pet the dogs. He's like, probably wouldn't advise it. He's like, these dogs can be kind of mean.
Yeah.
Which, in my mind, if they're after polar bears, I want them as mean as possible. I think they need to be. I need the baddest dog that you got. Like, bring them on.
Yeah.
So, we get there. He's got all his dogs. We load up and we get on this camping truck. We have about an 11-hour ride. If you look at Hall Beach on the map, it's on the right side of like a little peninsula.
Yeah.
That comes out right above, right at the top of the Hudson Bay. On the opposite side of that peninsula, there's a place called the Gulf of Boothia, and that's where we actually hunted.
Yeah.
So we proceed to get in this Kamatuck and make the 11-hour trek across, across the land over to the Gulf of Boothia so we can do some hunting. And Kamatuck ride was just medieval torture. It was awful, especially on the sea.
Oh man, yeah.
I would have thought on the ocean, because the ocean's water.
Yeah.
When it freezes flat.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Super bumpy. It was, you've seen the videos, man. They really don't do it justice. Like, I can't tell you how long it took me to get those 3 videos made because I couldn't hold the phone up for most of the other ones because it would knock it out of my hand. It was completely off.
Yeah.
But by the time we get there, I'm like, dude, you're never getting me back in there. Like, I'm riding on the 4-wheeler back to the camp. Like, when we leave here, I'm never getting back in that Kamatuck.
Yeah.
But we finally make it. Well, let's get into the pit stop thing. So along the way we stopped, we had tea. We'd sit and talk.
Yeah.
That was super cool. I mean, like hearing those guys' stories. Like Anuki was like a diehard hunter. I mean, and it's not like hunting back here. Like I feel like folks hunt back home typically because their dad's done it, showed them how to do it, they enjoy it. Yeah. These guys hunt because they have to.
Yeah.
But, those dudes, like that's grocery shopping. So like hearing his stories about, caribou hunts or, like seal hunts or, walrus harvest or, just the way that they would go about doing things just to like feed themselves. I mean, these guys were like going on dream hunts, just to kind of put food on the table. So it was super interesting hearing his side of the stories. Kind of sad to hear him talk about it because, he's saying, I can't really get around anymore. I'm old. My mind wants to do it, but my body won't let me. Yeah. So, he sat around telling stories and just hearing some of the stuff he had done was just, super amazing.
Yeah. But, no kidding, eh?
So we did that. Let's see what else. Had some fermented walrus. Interesting. Not my favorite at all.
Yeah.
But it's like one of those, win in Rome type things. Like you gotta give it a try and see what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. So that kind of doubled as dog meat / people snacks, which was interesting. Super fatty.
You said walrus, right?
Fermented walrus.
Yeah. Oh man.
And it tastes exactly like you'd expect it to taste. I mean, because fermented is just, when you're talking about food, that's really just a churched up word for rotten.
Yeah.
It was rotten walrus meat. He's like, in July, this meat will be a year old.
Oh.
And it tasted like it. I mean, it was greasy, fishy.
Yeah.
Walrus meat. Different, super different. In Kugluktuk, I had smoked beluga whale, and that stuff is unbelievable. Just, if I'd known how my stomach would react to it, I could have eaten myself silly on it. All it needs is a little bit of soy sauce.
Oh, wow. That's
fermented walrus meat, not really the same. It was just strong, very strong. But the dogs ate it. Those guys ate it. I had to eat it. And so that was the first time we stopped. We had a bad fuel filter. They had to bring another fuel filter out.
Yeah.
We stopped a couple more times and just, grab a snack, move your feet around, have a tea or something. Stopped this one time, and a nookie comes up. He's like, I'm sorry. He's like, yeah. He's like, Joey brought some Mickey out here. He's like, he's lost his bottle. He went to go get it. I'm thinking, what are you talking about? Like, what is Mickey? He's like, booze. He's like, he brought booze out here. He's drunk. And I'm thinking, oh, no. Because I've heard the horror stories about idiots and alcohol.
Yeah.
Typically we'd all stop at the same time, and, we'd get tea and they'd regas, and, and it was about the time that we needed some more gas. And this guy's just kind of looking for a bottle of alcohol, literally in the middle of nowhere. Like you're in the middle of absolutely nothing. So I don't know how he found it, but, he was gone for maybe 45 minutes. He shows back up. And after that, it was fine. We made about the 2-hour ride back to camp. Before we got there, he stopped, and we got out. There were some fresh tracks that he had came across. And those polar bears have got those real hairy front paws. So it almost looks like they're walking through the snow with a dress on. So they've got like this wispy looking trail they've made with the footprints right in the middle. And it's like a dinner plate. It was as big as a dinner plate with the claws on the tips of it. And he's like, that's a big bear. He's like, that's a 9-foot-plus bear.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, looking at the track of this thing, there's no question. Whatever made it was a giant. And the claws of these things are not like a grizzly bear or a brown bear. Like, you see those, and I feel like those look like very long and almost like blunted. Yeah. Dude, the polar bear claws are like, they're like a mountain lion claw. I mean, they're very like curled and super, super, super sharp. Yeah. But they leave just the crisp little indentions in the snow. So it was super cool to see that. I mean, obviously, I'm hunting polar bears. Seeing polar bear sign was amazing. Man, we drove about another hour and a half until we got to camp. And basically, we camped on the carcass of the bear that the guy 2 weeks before had killed. Ton of sign. There was fresh sign in camp. I can only assume they were using like a bait pile. I mean, it makes sense. There's food out there. They smell it. Yeah. So they're going to be in the area, at least checking it out. But there were fresh tracks in camp, and he was saying that would be an absolute shooter bear, again, another 9-foot bear. Yeah. And it was leading away from camp, and I'm thinking, well, let's go get after him, because it was midnight. Sun doesn't really go down there. We still had good light. Yeah. But we set up camp, and they got everything good to go, and that was pretty much day one. All Kamatut getting beat to hell, setting up camp and just getting anxious to get at it. Woke up the next morning. It was a little bit overcast, a little bit windy. The plan for the day was just to stay in the camp. They were saying that, with the food, because they dragged that walrus meat with them, they said they smelled that walrus meat for miles. And he's like, typically, if we're here for more than a day because of weather, something will show up at camp. Wow. Now, to me, it's just, I know. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, really? I was like, even though, because to me, animals and people, they don't really go together. Yeah. But they're saying the polar bears don't give a damn. They smell food, they're going to go check it out. They don't care if you're there or not.
So all you have to do is go camping.
He's like, what's that?
All you have to do out there is go camping, and they'll show up.
Yeah, sort of. Basically, he's like, if we stay here long enough, the bears will show up. He's like, we shot several in camp where they would show up, and just the hunter liked them and he just took them. Yeah. So the first day we just sat around 10 o'clock. Joey's like, oh, let's go, do some glassing. He's like, they call it whiteout conditions, and I get it. To me, I could see the stuff in the snow, but it was not. It's not like it was when it's sunny. Yeah. The light's kind of diffused up there, so everything kind of blends together. And they were like, we don't go look for tracks. We don't go hunting this and that. Okay. So Joey and I went and found a little knob to get on. There's all these little islands that stick stick out, because we're actually on the ocean. So there's
Okay.
little islands that stick out. We go and find a decent one that's got, a good, it's in a good vantage point to see a lot of open ocean.
Yeah.
And we're looking at it, and 20 minutes in, it's like there are 3 polar bears just right here.
That's wild.
They're not white. They, when you see them, they're almost like yellowish globs.
Yeah.
And they stick out like a sore thumb. I mean, they are not white at all.
Yeah.
And it's like there's 3 just right here, polar bears, just like you see in the Disney show. They're just 3 bears.
Mm-hmm.
And it was maybe 20 minutes after that the weather really turned. We got back on the snowmobiles. By the time we got back to camp, like it was full on blizzard.
Yeah.
Coming in sideways, wind blowing, tent like it was going to come out of the ground. So day 1 was pretty much a wrap.
Were you a bit nervous coming back? Were you a bit nervous with the weather? Like when you were coming back, did you feel like you were in danger?
Not really. I mean, it's one of these things like these guys are like, we're going to catch a bear. Like there's no 100%, like you're going to get one. There's no question about, getting a bear. He's like, the size is really the only thing.
Yeah.
And, so when you got somebody telling you that, again, I'm not a polar bear hunter. I know absolutely nothing about it, but to have the guys say, like, you're going to be 100%, you're going to be successful,
mm-hmm.
In 10 days, I'm going to get a good day within the 10 days.
Yeah.
And even Anuki was like 4 days. He's like 4 days is the max. Like, I've never had anybody here longer than 4 days.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, well, that sounds good to me. Like, what I've gotten invested in the hunt, like, if we can get out here in 4 days, it's not going to hurt my feelings as long as you're coming back with a bear.
Yeah.
So I really like hearing that.
Mm-hmm.
But second day was a lot of the same thing. We didn't leave the tent that day. We basically just stayed in there. Joey and I talked a lot, and he talked about his life and the way he does things. And, showed him some pictures of my stuff, and told him about how my life goes and what I do. And that was pretty much day 2. A lot of phone games and eating fish. Those guys catch Arctic char, and we eat Arctic char for dinner.
Yeah.
Food was exceptional. Those guys cooked steaks the first night. Second night we had Arctic char. Spaghetti, like those guys really did it up to be, considering we're 11 hours from absolutely nowhere.
Are you guys catching the Arctic char like there on the ice, or did they bring it with them?
They actually caught one while we were there, but he did bring some with him. But I guess when he caught the one, he didn't want to deal with having to, break down a frozen fish. So he just went and chopped a hole in the ice and just, grabbed one. He just comes in the tent with. I didn't even know he was fishing. He just shows up with fish.
How did he catch him? Like a net, or like what did they do? I guess
he took his gear with him. Whatever kind of fishing gear he had, he just went through the ice and because we're actually camping on the ocean, so he just goes through a hole in the ice and
that's cool.
Does this thing. That was really cool. The Arctic char is really good, man. It's just very clean taste.
Yeah.
Just a very light, clean fish.
Yeah.
But day 3, so we get up day 3, more of the same as like, we're probably not going to go out. And then I'm on this Garmin every 15 minutes. I mean, I'm constantly updating the weather, trying to find a break, and hoping something happens. And, they're talking about not going out. And Anuki's like, if you don't kill one today, he's like, it'll be the longest I've had without having somebody get one, shot one by now. I'm thinking, great. Like, that's, of course, my luck.
Yeah.
But, so as the day goes by, all the guys go outside for a little bit, and Joey comes back in. He's like, I think we got a break. He's like, we're probably leaving in a couple hours. Yes, this is perfect.
Yeah.
It was kind of late in the day. It was probably 3:00 when he said it.
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't get really dark. It gets kind of dusky and like twilighty, but it never gets really dark. So to me, light wasn't going to be an issue. But time ticks by. I suit up, get all my gear on, and the gear on this thing again. Let me talk about the gear because it's a little tricky.
Yeah.
So when I went on the muskox hunt, it was very straightforward. Like, it's going to be cold. All my base layers on. I got my suit that Jake Ensign let me borrow. It's like an old transatlantic or Trans-Alaskan coverall suit. This thing probably weighs. It feels like it weighs 15 pounds.
Oh wow.
Completely windproof. Completely, like, no problems. I mean, you can navigate the Arctic in this thing. No issues at all. Completely warm. Completely toasty. No problems.
Yeah.
So I took that along for the days that it was going to be like, -5 or 6. But for the other days, it was going to be high 20s. I just took my regular, Helly Hansen base layers. Over that, I put my Kuiu Super Down set.
Yeah.
And over the Super Down set, I ran my Yukon rain gear.
Yeah.
So it kind of gave me that, windproof, waterproof, plenty of insulation. I had absolutely no problems with that setup. The Baffin boots that I ran were so big that I couldn't get with the Super Down Pro pants, I couldn't get my pants zipped all the way down over the boots. I kind of I kind of had like a bell bottom look thing going on. But as far as the functionality of the setup, like it was perfect. I never got cold. I was very comfortable. Wind never got through.
That's perfect.
But yeah, I get suited up. We get on the snow machines and we take off. I left the compound in camp. I was like, you know what? I was like, I need to get over this thing about, having it a backup. Like it's going to be a recurve hunt. Just, make the commitment, leave it in the, leave the compound here and just do it the way I want to do it.
Yeah.
So grab the recurve. We get on the snow machines and we take off. We weren't 45 minutes outside of camp before we cut the first set of tracks. Small tracks, fresh tracks. But they're heading out to this pack ice. And the pack ice is, I guess, where you're getting far enough away from the shore to where the ocean has enough play in the ice to where it can actually ripple and tweak and crack and break and basically stack up on itself.
Yeah.
So it's really rugged. And they're like, he's like, if the bears are going in there, we can't chase them. He's like, we can't get the four-wheeler, the snow machines in there.
Yeah.
Just because of the terrain. And it was a very clear delineation of where the pack ice was versus the flat stuff that you could ride on all day.
Mm-hmm.
So we found that first set of tracks. We kept putting along. We found the sound of the cub tracks again. Not too much longer after that, we found another set of tracks. Again, same situation, smaller bear heading out to the pack ice. So we pack up and keep pushing. Maybe 30, 45 minutes after that, we cut the big ones. And he's like, that's a fresh bear track, and he's walking parallel with the pack ice. And he's like, that's absolutely an 9-foot bear. He's like, that's a shooter bear for sure. And once we found those sort of tracks, the hunt kind of shifted. Because we're pretty much in pursuit mode at that point. So once we get back on the four wheelers, there's no more kind of putting around. Like it was wide open. And every 10 or 15 seconds, who was I? I think I was on the snow machine with Joey or. God, now I'm losing the other guy's name. Joey and Nookie. Anyhow, the guys would stand up to check him out to see what was there. And, maybe the third or fourth time he stood up, he stopped and like, he's right there.
Yeah.
And, I hop off and I throw the glass on this thing and he's just, it's unbelievable. And people don't realize how big these things are because every time you see them, they're next to another polar bear. Or, they're out on the ice with nothing really to reference. If you would have put this thing next to a Civic, people would be blown away. It's just enormous.
Yeah.
And he paid us no attention.
Yeah.
Like, I figured for sure he's heard these snowmobiles. And, but he's just kind of, obviously he's walking away from us, but he's just kind of lumbering away. And you can see he's just a monster. I mean, he's got the heavy shoulders. He's got that long head. His head looks super tiny.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, he gets the dogs on, basically out of his sled, that he carries them in, and he gets them tied up to the sled that we have to get pulled on, right?
Yeah.
And this thing's like a Camatug, but it's just instead of having the box to fill your stuff up and sit on, it's just got a platform.
Yeah.
So we jump on this thing and we take off. And, these dogs are going absolutely just bananas.
Yeah.
And, they're barking, they're throwing a fit. And we get maybe 100 yards out, and he cuts the two lead dogs loose. Mm-hmm. They're the two biggest. To me, they looked the meanest. They were, they were more hyped about it, the bear than anything else. He cuts those two dogs loose, and then we keep going. Those dogs got about, I want to say they got like 20 or 30 yards away from him before the bear even made mention of him or looked back to him, or he just didn't seem to care.
Yeah.
But when he did, he made a move to the pack ice, which is obviously not what we wanted to see. But as soon as he did, he kind of got in between two like little, ice formations, almost like little icebergs.
Yeah.
And he did that thing where they lay down. The polar bears are laid down. They'll get in kind of like this defensive position and lay down.
Okay.
It's super strange. Yeah. And at this point, the dogs had put them there. We were maybe at 60 yards out. We get off the little dog sled. And, we're walking around. So the bear we approach him from the back. The pack ice is on the left. The little mountains kind of are on the right. So he goes off to the left into the pack ice. So we're kind of coming around on his right to, kind of get it on the broadside. The dogs went around because the dogs see him kind of heading left into the pack ice. So the dogs kind of go around to his left and swing around into the pack ice to kind of keep him from going in there, which is awesome.
Yeah.
When he cut the other 6 dogs loose, they gave absolutely not one damn about that polar bear.
No.
They were They were untrained to the max. You had one over here, you had one over there. This one ran back to camp. Like they were just they're like bad kids. They were all over the place.
Yeah.
But luckily, those two the other two dogs kind of put themselves into a position to where one was, kind of ahead of the bear and the other was kind of behind the bear. And the only way he could go other than, between those two dogs was back into the clear stuff. So while the bear's attentions were on the dogs, I don't think he had seen us at this point.
Yeah.
Because he didn't pay much attention to the dogs. So, we're kind of skirting around, kind of coming around his 3 o'clock and trying to get an angle on him.
Mm-hmm.
Then he turns and looks at us, and he notices us, and we're probably, I'd say, 35 yards out.
Yeah.
Then he starts growling. He made the muskox made a snort, and that's really the only kind of snort I can compare to what this bear was doing. It's like, it's not really a snarl, and it's not really a growl. It was like a snort. It was just strange. But his growl, you hear the black bears do it. Yeah. And it's not really the same. You hear the black bears, they're doing that whole thing at the other bears, and it doesn't have that same, like, set the hair on your back of your neck kind of primal sound to it. Like, he sounded like he was going to kill us. Oh. And when he noticed us, in that instant, he kind of fired up. You could tell him he was kind of obviously super aggravated. He started snorting, started growling, and he comes at us. And the snow out there is not like, if it was just snow on a football field and you just took off running across it, it'd be fine. Yeah. Well, the snow here is, it's frozen, it's melted, it's, different layers. So, you could take 3 or 4 good steps and be fine, but you take one, you sink up to your knee. Oh, no. So there's no getting away from this bear. So he's so close and he moves so quick. When he started coming at us, I completely expected to take 2 or 3 steps and hear a gunshot. Yeah. He didn't. So, I get away and Joey's like, you're good. Yeah. I guess when he came back and when he took his attention off those dogs and started running, that it almost triggered like a chase response in the dogs. Again, I'm completely pulling this out of my ass. I have no idea what made him stop coming at us and go back to his position. But I can only assume it's because the dogs came after him. So he felt more safe there. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I got back up on my feet, I snatched an arrow out and basically, ran up to, what I guessed about 25 yards. I whip up my rangefinder and it gives me the 25 yards. Yeah. I pull back and he's laying down at this point. Yeah. I'd thrown Joey the phone, told him to videotape it. Yeah. I guess he had the video tab over to picture. Yeah. So he wound up taking a really good shot of it. Yeah. But he was laying down, and once he stood up, I got a good shot on it. And again, I thought the same thing had happened. It was low and forward. It hit his leg. And I'm thinking, I don't know what it is about these Arctic hunts, but I don't know if it's my clothing or my sight picture or what I'm doing wrong, but I keep sending these shots low and forward. Something this is great because, of course, as soon as I hit him, he snaps back at it. He takes off into the pack ice. I snatch another arrow out and I try to pursue him to kind of. Yeah. In the picture you sent, he's got his butt kind of to that, that big block of ice. Yeah. When he takes off running, he runs back in that direction. So I lose him because, he runs behind that iceberg. So I snatched the arrow out and I kind of cut around, basically to his 9 o'clock to try to get a better angle on him so I could sling another one at him. Yeah. And when I put eyes on him, he was kind of, it was not like he was like in a dead run, but he was like in a trot. Well, he stops and he sits down and he moves to like his back left to like he's going to sniff it. Yeah. He rolls over on his back and puts his feet up in the air, stone dead. No way. He didn't go 40 yards. That's stone dead, man. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. I thought it was a bad hit. Yeah. But it turned out it basically just scraped the back of his leg. It did hit his leg, but it scraped the back of his leg and wound up hitting him low in the lungs. And I got about 50% penetration, but it wound up cutting both lungs. Oh, wow. And, those low lung shots, they don't have to fill up. The lung cavity doesn't have to fill up. It all just dumps out. Yeah. And it was just catastrophic, man. I mean, to be as big as he was, obviously he was the second biggest animal ever taken, maybe third largest compared to the moose or the bison. But he died almost instantly. It was unbelievable. It was absolutely unbelievable. And of course, as soon as the blood hits the air, all of a sudden those dogs that hadn't been fed in a day or two were like, "Where's the party?" They're all over the bear. Yeah. But dude, walking up on that thing was just, first off, the adrenaline dump from that thing took me days to come down off of. And I didn't realize it at the time until things had kind of cooled down. It's like I was a mess in the situation. Guy didn't have a gun.
That's wild.
The other guys, Anuki and God, I can't remember the other guy's name. Ike. Anuki and Ike.
Okay, yeah.
They were maybe 150 yards away, and they were maybe 75 or 80 yards away from each other.
Yeah.
The kind of almost like a net.
Yeah.
And if they had a gun out, unless they were like Navy sniper certified or Army sniper certified guys, there's no way they're making that shot on target at a moving bear at $1.50. There's no way.
No.
So it was, looking back, it was a really, really dangerous situation. And the way it kind of unfolded with me thinking it was a bad shot that turned out to be a good shot, and the fact that it did him in so quickly, just unbelievable, man.
Yeah, you're real fortunate. And
walking up on that thing and seeing just his size, it's just, I've described animals as gigantic or monstrous or, huge or whatever.
Yeah.
But the only word that really accurately sums up the size of this bear is preposterous. It was just preposterous. His head. I couldn't even pick his head up for like a decent photo because his head felt like it weighed 150 pounds.
Yeah.
His hide, it took two of us to pick his hide up to put it, in the back of the sled.
No way. That's
it was enormous, man. It was absolutely enormous. He squared, so he was 113 tip to tail.
Yeah.
And they squared him out at 9.45.
Yeah.
And I actually just got a call from my guy in Canada yesterday, and he scored him at 24 and 14/16. I scored him at 25 and 14/16.
Yeah.
But, that was 3 hours after it happened, and I had all kinds of wires crossed, so I clearly got that wrong.
Yeah.
He makes Pope and Young by a mile, and he's just tickled pink. But it was, and it's super odd, man. So when you skin these bears, their skin is black. Their fur is actually clear, and their skin is black, so they absorb a ton of heat.
Oh, no
but
way.
When you're skinning this thing, he's got a little thin black strip across his entire body. Because his skin is black.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just super interesting to see that. But he had cuts and gashes, 10 to 15, over his arms, his head, his neck, his chest, his belly. Wow. And just from fighting, and he had one on his face that was probably 2 inches wide, and it was just like a gash.
Just a warrior, eh?
Just a complete monster of an animal. I mean, just out here fighting everything, and that stuff was fresh. I mean, he had been fighting that bear in the last handful of days.
Yeah.
So if there's another bear out there putting those marks on this bear, it's just I couldn't imagine, man. I couldn't imagine, and they're just. It's just a surreal feeling to be up there and be next to that animal, with a recurve in your hand. It was just, it was nuts.
Yeah.
Meat was good. It was not very different than, honestly, man, it could have tasted like who knows what. I think I was in such shock I wouldn't really notice anyway, but to me it just tasted like meat, like bear meat.
Oh, okay.
So I expected a fishy taste, because they eat seal and walrus and all that kind of stuff, but I really didn't get any of that. Yeah. It was just meat. Yeah, it was just me.
That's cool. Wow, what a hunt,
but
man!
Very, dude, it was nuts. It was just completely crazy.
So I got a couple questions then about that hunt. Like, that's a lot to absorb. Like, it's a dream hunt for sure, right? And you got to live that. You've been living a lot of dream hunts here, which is pretty awesome. We all get to hear about it. But what was your goal, kind of going into that hunt for, like, size wise? Like, were you?
I didn't have one.
You didn't.
I didn't have one at all, and nope. And I told the guys, I was like, listen, man, I was like, any mature bear is going to fit the bill. I don't want a small bear, obviously if it's day 8, day 9, we'll consider it, but I want a good representative bear. And really, man, that's my goal in any hunt I go on.
Yeah.
Obviously Pope and Young is where I like to set the mark. Yeah. But I went on a coos deer hunt with my buddies out in Arizona. John and his son, Derek, 3 hours, respectable coos deer, great stalk. He missed Pope and Young, but it's still a great animal. It's like, the experience is more of it than the size, really. I mean, obviously it's cool to take big stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Cool. But when you go out there and you make a 74-yard shot on a coos deer in 3 hours, it's tough. It's tough to say, oh, we didn't score so-and-so.
Yeah.
And kind of kick yourself over that thing. So the bear was the same way. Mm-hmm. Even the black bear. I mean, I obviously wanted a nice bear, and it was one of the things where, I'd done that hunt before, And, you know, I'd been super successful my previous hunts.
Yeah.
So if I didn't go out there and see what I wanted to see, I'd be completely fine with just leaving a bear in the woods.
Yeah.
But, you know, the way that worked out, it's like, you know, this guy was the second one to show up, and I'm still having trouble getting my head around that one. But, yeah. Size-wise, it was just any mature bear is game.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, when you see the tracks, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of cheating a little bit because you know what you're getting into, you know, beforehand.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's not like tree stand hunting where you're just kind of, you know, taking the pick of what walks by.
Yeah.
Like you see that bear and like, yep, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And so you kind of know going into it that you're on the, you know, you're behind something worthy. Yeah. And then you see him. And of course it's like when he could have been a foot smaller, and it's like, I'm still 100% shooting this bear. Yeah. Because it's like, you know, you're hunting a minivan with a recurve, and it was just, it's mind blowing when you see these things. Yeah. So, and nobody's ever going to know the difference. Like nobody's ever going to walk in and be like, dude, that's a little bear. No. You know, when this thing gets into nobody ever, they're just so big. Yeah.
And they're not going to care. No one really cares except like the hunter themselves, right?
Yeah.
That's who really cares the most. Yeah. So. Yeah, no, that's...
Yeah, but it's one of those things, man, where I came away with, you know, a bear that was so far ahead of any kind of expectations I had, you know, that I couldn't have been happier with the outcome. Yeah. So.
Wow. One heck of a hunt, that's for sure. What setup were you using? You said a recurve there, like what poundage, arrow weight, and all that stuff.
So I'm shooting one of Mike's bows, Mike Arnett. You know, he makes tall tines. He hunts with you guys quite a bit.
Yep, that's right.
Super good bow. It's going 60 inches. I pull about 29.5 on that thing. Yeah. And I'm getting right at 50, 51. Okay. I am shooting the, Black Eagle vintage arrows. Yeah. I don't do anything to them. I use a 200 grain S200 iron wheel broadhead with the bleeder. Yeah. And that's really it, man. I shoot a glove. I don't shoot a tab. Yeah. To me, it's just, I feel like the tabs, cause I carry my release around on my compound. You know, I shoot a stand for facts. It's, you know, I always got to have it in my hand. It's kind of a pain in the ass. Yeah. So I like wearing the glove. You know, I can just put it on my bow when I'm not using it, or when I get ready to go hunt, just put my hand in the glove and I'm ready to shoot. Yeah. But that said, it works, man. It's, you know, it's an easy bow to tune. It's fast. It's quick. It's really quiet, you know, smooth. And it's, you know, I had some good success with it this year. Yeah. So it's definitely not going to change that setup anytime soon.
Yeah. No kidding. Yeah, man, we've been
tried and true, man.
Yeah, exactly.
It ain't broke.
Yeah. And Arnett, he bought tall tines there a couple of years ago, and he's been doing a pretty good job from what I can tell.
Yep. And I took my Cougar with the one that Wessel built me.
Oh, okay.
That was the first one I got. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. He made really good bows as well. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's the same thing. Those guys are all over it.
Yeah. Yeah. So where do you go from here? Like, what are your upcoming hunts right now that you have planned? You kind of touched on it.
So right now I'm on the books. I'm on the books for next August for Thule elk. And logic there being, you know, you can go anywhere, you know, west and kill a Rocky. You know, you got to go to Oregon for the Rosies. Yeah. But the way California is, man, with their, you know, let's ban hunting, let's ban bear hunting, you know, let's ban cougar hunting, all that kind of stuff. You know, I just figure if I wait long enough, they're going to ban hunting completely. So you're not going to be able to get in California to do anything. Yeah. So I booked that as my first elk hunt just because, you know, I want to do it while it's available.
Exactly.
So I'm going out there. Richard Erickson, we're hunting on the Middle Ranch with Richard Erickson. He's, the way he does it is kind of an on-call situation. He's like, you could come out on certain dates. And he's like, it's best if we just wait to let the bulls come down to the ranch, and then I give you a call. And with my schedule, the way it is, you know, I do government work for NOAA. Yeah. So anytime I want to take off, you know, they pay time and a half for overtime. So, you know, I could call in right now for a shift tomorrow, and 5 other people will put in for it, you know, because the money's so good. So I don't have any problems taking off short notice leave. But he says they typically come down around the 25th of the month. He's like, they don't stay around, you know, bachelor groups for whitetails. They typically don't stay around with the does unless they're younger. Yeah. But, you know, once the rut happens, they all show up. Well, the females and the cows, you know, the cows and the calves, they live there full time. So, you know, once the rut happens, the boys got to come see what the girls are up to. He's
exactly.
Like, so just season opens on the 1st, so be ready any day after that. He's like, typically it's around the 25th.
And that's happening.
Coda Man.
Yeah, that's happening this.
I'm sorry.
That's happening this August or next?
Yep, that's next month.
Oh, no,
yep,
wow.
And that's a compound
up.
hunt. So I am going to take the recurve in case we get into a waterhole situation.
Yeah.
But the likelihood of him getting inside range for the recurve is probably not very good.
Yeah.
But it will be with me. I will take it.
Yeah.
But he's probably going to get shot with a recurve. But Corey Smith, Coda Man on both sides, he hunted that property in 2020 and wound up killing the biggest tule elk ever taken. So
no kidding. I didn't realize
he's got
that.
him.
Wow.
Yeah, he's got the elk out there. I mean, I think Corey's bull, I think he wound up scoring 369, and the archery world record's like 334. I mean, that's,
wow. Yeah.
He's like, man, he's like, the way this thing was coming, he's like, if I had my archer equipment, he's like, I just tuck myself right back into this tree line, he would have walked right by me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's nuts. And, so I've picked his brain a couple times because he's been on the property twice. So it's, kind of good to go to the horse's mouth for information like that. But this one kind of seems pretty straightforward. You wait till they get there, you show up and get after one.
Yeah. That's right.
But the good thing about this one, I'm the only tag holder, because I've got a landowner permit because, drawing that tule tag, it's another one of these 30-year deals. Mm-hmm. So I just did the shortcut and bought it. But I have the tag for the whole season. So if I go out there and whiff the first time out, I've got until basically December 31st to let a punch a tag.
Yeah.
So that's a fun one. After that, that'll do it for the rest of the year. And after that, I'll do my primary whitetail hunting, back home. And even that's a little bit different. So I don't have like a traditional setup with whitetails. Trying to find property in Virginia is super tedious. People aren't very receptive to having hunters out. So I actually hunt like a management program in Fairfax County.
Yeah.
Great program. It's run by the police, by the police. You got to jump through a bunch of hoops to get, qualified and actually out there.
Yeah.
But there's slammer deer in these parks and people just sleep on them. They do not, they almost refuse to believe that there can be a big deer, in a 20-acre parcel behind a bunch of subdivisions.
Yeah.
And, they're out there. I mean, there was one walking out there that was every bit of 180 plus inches.
Wow.
That
nice.
He puts a slip on everybody.
Yeah.
And he does that because in this park program, people just refuse to believe that they're wild deer.
Mm-hmm.
So they hunt them like they're tame. They can make a ton of noise. They don't pay attention to the wind.
Yeah.
And they never get these big deer. But they are out there. So my whitetail situation is a little different. So that'll be, primarily what I'm doing for the rest of 2022. Let's see, June of 23, I've got brown bear with Jonah Stewart.
Oh man, that guy's legendary too.
That's going to be a killer.
Yeah,
hunt.
and he's
I'm super looking forward to that.
He's really well known too, that guy. So I think you're going to have a good hunt there.
Dude, Jonah Stewart is an absolute killer. He's been sending me some pictures of the bears these guys have been getting. Pretty much if you're pulling the trigger on a bear, it's going to be Pope and Young. So that's really all I can ever ask for in any hunt. If I get a Pope and Young animal in any of my hunts, expectations have been exceeded. So that's kind of how I look at these things.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
He's doing them, man. He's got a good area. Obviously, he's a bow hunter. So that was, anytime I'm booking these hunts, I really pay attention to, what kind of hunter the guy is.
Yeah.
In his hunting career. That's something I really didn't do to begin with because it just wasn't very, versed at, what to look at and that kind of thing. But, Rick Fisher, he's a bow hunter.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Jonah Stewart, bow hunter. Richard Erickson, bow hunter. You guys.
Yeah.
You guys are bow only and stick flingers. You know what I mean? So that kind of stuff is like, stuff I pay attention to.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm going to have a really, really good hunt up there. After that, I've got Stan Stevens at McKenzie Mountains for Doll Sheep. And that one's got the, you can add on the mountain caribou. So, Gene Fleming off Bow Site.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So he hunted up there. He wound up taking his doll on day 2. I think he went back to camp and chilled for a day or so, and then went out and got his mountain caribou. So hopefully I run into a situation like that. But that's the big one. So that's all hands on deck. Pulling out all the training stops. As far as losing weight and getting getting the cardio in and packing the pack around and walking the stairs at work because that one has to happen. And if it doesn't, it can't be because I wasn't ready.
That's right.
If the animals don't play along, that's fine. But, when I go on the hunt, I feel like I'm as prepared as I can possibly be, when I step off the plane or, out of the helicopter or whatever we're using. But that's all that's on the books right now. I got stick flingers, with you guys in 24. So we got that on book too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
But that's as deep as I've got. So 24 is pretty open, but But after the doll sheep hunt, that's when I see things really going to slow down for me after that, because it's going to be, just trying to piece things together, and, maybe another moose, or, if I wind up getting a brown bear, I'll be one bear short of a bear slam, which I never thought I'd have a bear slam, just because the polar bear was in the way.
Exactly.
So there's stuff like that I'm looking at. I'm one short of my deer, so I need to go up to Alaska and get a Sitka. That would be a lot of fun, because it's a boat-based hunt. We could take a bunch of guys. And, that seems like a lot of fun. So I definitely got to get something booked for 24, but nothing's really going to get settled until after the doll sheep hunt goes down.
Yeah, that's right. Wow, man, what a whirlwind day.
It's been nuts, man. It's it seems like once 2020 started, these hunts have just been coming, super fast. And I took the job with Noah in 2018, and pretty much, all the overtime I've worked since then has been, saved and put toward these hunts, and they're actually starting to happen. Yeah. And it's been super, super fun, especially being successful. I can't complain about the success at all. Yeah. So I'm still kind of nervous that one whiff is going to happen, but it is what it is, and you just gotta take it as it comes.
Yeah. That's right.
But so far everything's been good, man. I couldn't be happy with the way things have been going.
You know what? This has been super enjoyable. It's almost been 2 hours. I don't want to necessarily keep you away from your family there, but I do, selfishly, because the stories are so good. And
You're totally fine, man.
I just want to keep talking.
Let's do a part 2 when I get that elk knocked down.
Exactly. And you'll have to be a regular here, because you're just so much fun to listen to. Seriously.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
I do appreciate it.
And I like talking about it. So it's win-win for everybody.
Yeah. Okay, man. Well, thanks for talking, and take care there.
Absolutely, David. I appreciate you guys, man. Tell the family I said hey, and I hope you guys do well.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, Eric. Take care. Bye.
Okay, brother. Bye-bye.
All right. That was Eric Bethune. What did you guys think about that? I don't think I need to really ask anybody what they thought about that, because that was one heck of a chat with him. Very interesting. Very good storyteller. It's just, pretty mind-blowing for me, because I've dreamed of all these hunts that he's done and what he's going to be doing. And you know what? Reality has sunk in for me. So here in Manitoba, I'm very happy, content with hunting whitetails, black bear. I got to go on a 17-day flying moose hunt this year. That's pretty wild. The elk hunting is pretty decent out here too. And, well, the caribou used to be good. So once that gets going, I hope that I can go down there and do a bit of that as well eventually. But yeah, guys, really enjoyed that discussion with Eric. I'm just going to get going here and leave you to your day. See you guys later.